Hare Krishna, Pranam dear devotees. Thank you so much for joining. Let's start with prayers.
Hare Krishna.
ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनाशलाकय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तु ते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्यति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you all so much for joining. So we'll continue with our reading. Today we'll start with chapter 10 of the Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. Okay. So yeah. So this chapter is about the techniques of hearing and remembering. So let's start with the reading. Would someone like to read? We can probably read. Yes, Sudha Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Um,
Pranams.
Pranam.
Chapter 10 Techniques of Hearing and Remembering. Hearing. The beginning of Krishna consciousness and devotional service is hearing, in Sanskrit called Shravanam. All people should be given the chance to come and join devotional parties so that they may hear. This hearing is very important for progressing in Krishna consciousness. When one links his ears to give oral reception to the transcendental vibrations, he can quickly become purified and cleansed in the heart. Lord Chaitanya has affirmed that this hearing is very important. It cleanses the heart of the contaminated soul so that he becomes quickly qualified to enter into devotional service and understand Krishna consciousness. In the Garuda Purana, the stress on hearing is expressed very nicely. It is said there, the state of the conditioned life in the material world is just like that of a man lying unconscious, having been bitten by a snake. This is because both such unconscious states can be ended by the sound of a mantra. When a man is snake bitten, he does not die immediately, but first becomes unconscious and remains in a comatose condition. Anyone who is in the material world is also sleeping, as he is ignorant of his actual self or his actual duty and his relationship with God. So, materialistic life means that one is bitten by the snake of Maya, illusion, and thus, without any Krishna consciousness, is almost dead. Now, the so called dead man bitten by a snake can be brought back to life by the chanting of some mantra. There are expert chanters of these mantras who can perform this feat. Similarly, one can be brought back into Krishna consciousness from the deadly unconscious state of material life by hearing of the Maha Mantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. Uma Devi Mataji, you want to continue?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Dandavat Pranams. In the fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 29th chapter, verse 40, the importance of hearing the pastimes of the Lord is stated by Sukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit. My dear king, one should stay at a place where the great acharyas, holy teachers, speak about the transcendental activities of the Lord, and one should give oral reception to the nectarian river flowing from the moonlight faces of such great personalities. If someone eagerly continues to hear such transcendental sounds, then certainly he will become freed from all material hunger, thirst, fear, and lamentation, as well as all illusions of material existence. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also recommended this process of hearing as a means of self realization in the present age of Kali. In this age, it is very difficult to follow thoroughly the regulative principles and studies of the Vedas, which were formerly recommended. However, if one gives oral reception to the sound vibrated by great devotees and acharyas, that alone will give him relief from all material contamination. Therefore, it is the recommendation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that one should simply hear from authorities who are actually devotees of the Lord. Hearing from professional men will not help. If we hear from those who are actually self realized, then the nectarian rivers, like those which are flowing on the moon planet, will flow into our ears. This is the metaphor used in the above verse. Hare Krishna Mataji. Dandavat
Hare
Pranam.
Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. Dandatna. Yeah, so last two paragraphs of this section, Shravanam, hearing. Would someone like to read?
Hare Krishna, shall I, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, please. Hare Krishna.
As stated in Bhagavad Gita, a materialistic person can give up his material hankerings only by becoming situated in Krishna consciousness. Unless one finds a superior engagement, he will not be able to give up his inferior engagement. In the material world, everyone is engaged in the illusory activities of the inferior energy, but when one is given the opportunity to relish the activities of the superior energy performed by Krishna, then he forgets all his lesser pleasures. When Krishna speaks on the battlefield of Kurukshetra to the materialistic person, it appears that this is simply talk between two friends. But actually, it is a river of nectar flowing down from the mouth of Sri Krishna. Arjuna gave oral reception to such vibrations, and thus he became free from all the illusions of material problems. Shall I continue? Three more lines are there.
Yes, Mataji, please complete this section.
In the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd chapter, verse 15, it is stated a person it is stated a person when I'm not able to move Mataji your screen. A person who desires unalloyed devotional service to Lord Krishna, who is praised by transcendental sound vibrations, should always hear about his glorification and transcendental qualities. This will surely kill all kinds of inauspiciousness in the heart. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Mataji, Hare Krishna. So here we are reading about very important, very important activity for devotional service, and that is Shravanam, hearing. So Prabhupada is saying that the beginning of Krishna consciousness and devotional service is hearing, right? Hearing about the names of Krishna, the activities of Krishna, the forms of Krishna, and that is called as Shravanam. So Prabhupada is saying that, everyone should be given a chance to join devotional parties so that they may hear. It is through this hearing that the transformation of the heart actually starts, because these are not ordinary words, these are transcendental vibrations. And when we get the reception then of this transcendental vibration, then our heart becomes purified and cleansed. So Lord Chaitanya also has affirmed that this hearing is very important. It cleanses the heart of the contaminated soul so that he becomes quickly qualified to enter into devotional service and understand Krishna consciousness. Then Prabhupada is quoting from Garuda Puran that how the stress is given on hearing so much. And this analogy or this example is given that it's like a man who has been bitten by a snake, and the man then lies unconscious because of the effect of the poison. So, but this, what is the treatment here? The treatment is a particular mantra. When that mantra is spoken and the person who's been bitten by a snake hears it, that's when he is able to come out of the effect of the poison. Right. And so Prabhupada is saying that our materialistic life means that we are bitten by the snake of Maya, illusion, and thus, without any Krishna consciousness, we are almost dead. So, Shravanam, this process is first among the processes of devotional service, right? When we hear about the 9 processes of devotional service, it starts with Shravanam, then Kirtanam, then Vishnu Smaranam, and Padsevanam, and so on. So, it starts with hearing. And Prahlad Maharaj has also mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam that this is the first among the processes of devotional service. So he gives all the 9 processes, and Shravanam is the first. So Shravanam basically means that we hear from advanced devotees, and 3 references are given here. Firstly, there is hearing of Krishna Katha, then even hearing about Krishna's names, that is also Shravanam. So when we hear Kirtan from advanced devotees, that is also a part of Shravanam. And it's just not just Krishna Leela, but also Krishna's names, that also comes under the purview of Shravanam. And then obviously Leelas of Krishna. Hearing all these things, it all constitutes as Shravanam. So Prabhupada, this quote from Garuda Puran, this example we have to understand. See, a person can be brought to consciousness by the power of mantras. So even though in the current state we don't really experience this kind of power of mantras for treating any kind of a problem like a snake bite as is given here, but this takes us back to a Vedic time when these things were actually prevalent, right? In the current scenario, we may not understand, in our current culture, we may not understand why some examples are given. We may not understand it, but there was a time when these things could be cured by mantras, by the power of mantras. Nowadays, if someone is bitten by a snake, we'd probably take them to a doctor or hospital, and they're given some medicine, injection, etc. But in the Vedic culture, there was a deep importance given to hearing. So, just as even in the current scenario, we can understand how sound can really pacify people, right? Even materialistic people feel relaxed when they hear relaxing music. It is a very subtle thing, but it has an impact, right? So, in the same way, by hearing some mantras, one could actually counteract the effect of the snake bite also. So it is not ordinary, specific sound had to be recited in a specific way. And in this way, one was able to get over the effect of snake bite also. Similarly, by chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, a person can come back to consciousness. And this is an example of Nam Shravan, or hearing the names of Krishna. Now, the way it is described here that a person is bitten by a snake, they are unconscious because of the poison of illusion. Similarly, material existence is like a snake bite. The snake has many, many fangs. Generally what a snake will have, one or a few fangs, but this snake of material existence has many, many fangs. And even a snake with one fang is very dangerous. So how we can imagine that a snake who has many, many fangs, how dangerous such a snake can be? Because Maya has so many alluring objects. Like, and every alluring sense object is like a fang of the snake of material existence. When we meditate on a particular sense object, then that enjoying mentality, that gets injected into our system. Just like the poison is injected into a person's system when there is a snake bite. In the same way, the snake of material, this snake bite of material existence, it injects this poison of, sense enjoyment, that enjoying mentality. And that enjoying mentality poisons our spiritual awareness, our spiritual consciousness, because we start thinking that I am the enjoyer and not Krishna. So that is really polluting our spiritual sensibility, our spiritual consciousness, our spiritual awareness. And the more the person gets injected with the enjoying mentality, more they get unconscious of the spiritual reality. Right. So we have to understand that even though, yeah, we may see everyone walking around us talking, but if they don't have that spiritual insight, then that means they are in a spiritually unconscious state. Right. So the more a person wants to enjoy, the more they get unconscious of the spiritual reality. So now we have been bitten by these snake bites, not only in this life, but in countless earlier lives as well. So all those impressions that we have formed over these countless number of lifetimes, they all form, they all have the impact on us that really impacts the way we are behaving in this life also. So to get us out of this unconscious state, we need to hear the names of Krishna. Many devotees give this example to explain why hearing is so very important. In the morning, when we are in deep sleep, if someone brings something written in front of us, will we be able to read it? No. No. At this point, what only thing that works is hearing something. That's why, we have alarm clocks. Because to wake us up from that unconscious kind of sleepy state, we need the power of sound. In the same way, we are in a spiritually sleeping condition. So, to wake us up, we need these vibrations of the names of Lord Krishna. The next example is Charit Shravan, hearing about the transcendental activities of the Lord. So Srila Prabhupada quotes from Srimad Bhagavatam, 29 chapter verse 40, the importance of hearing of the pastimes of the Lord is stated by Shukdev Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit. And he says that, my dear king, one should stay at a place where the great acharyas speak about the transcendental activities of the Lord, and one should give oral reception to the nectarian river flowing from the moon-like faces of such great personalities, right? So this quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam, it is also telling us the importance of hearing about the pastimes of the Lord. Shukdev Goswami himself is stating this to Parikshit Maharaj. Right? So the every great personality we are seeing and all these great shastras, they highly recommend the process of hearing, because when we hear from a pure devotee, that is when we get free of our material miseries. I think we will all agree that there is a lot of misery in this material world, right? So, what is the way of getting out of this material misery? It is to hear Krishna Katha from the mouth of a pure devotee. And we are so fortunate that we are in a society where there are so many advanced devotees who have given such wonderful lectures about varied topics, right? So there is no shortage, there is no dearth of hearing, material. The only thing lacking is for us to actually take the effort to really go and start hearing, right? If someone is very, very sincere about hearing, they can just be wherever they are and they can hear live lectures taking place in any part of the world. So we should take advantage of this benefit that we have and hear more and more Krishna Katha, more and more about the names and pastimes of Krishna. So after this, there is the next kind of hearing, that is Guna Shravan, that is hearing of the qualities of the Lord. And Lord Chaitanya has also given a lot of importance to hearing, because he describes that hearing and chanting is like watering the creeper of devotional service. Devotional service is always compared to a creeper, right? Bhakti Lata. How is this Bhakti Lata nurtured? That is through hearing and chanting, and that is like watering the creeper of devotional service. Okay, now, so this was about Shravanam, about hearing. Now we'll go to the next section, and that is expecting the Lord's mercy. Okay, Padma Mataji, you can start, Mataji, with 2 paras.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Pranam.
Expecting the Lord's mercy. In the 10th canto, 14th chapter, verse 8, it is said, My dear Lord, Any person who is constantly awaiting your causeless mercy to be bestowed upon him and who goes on suffering the resultant actions of his past misdeeds, offering you respectful obeisances from the core of his heart, is surely eligible to become liberated, for it has become his rightful claim. This statement of Srimad Bhagavatam should be the guide of all devotees. A devotee should not expect immediate relief from the reactions of his past misdeeds. No conditioned soul is freed from such reactionary experiences because material existence means continued suffering or enjoying of past activities. If one has finished his material activities, then there is no more birth. This is possible only when one begins Krishna conscious activities because such activities do not produce reaction. Therefore, as soon as one becomes perfect in Krishna conscious activities, he is not going to take birth again in the material world. A devotee who is not perfectly freed from the resultant actions should therefore continue to act in Krishna consciousness seriously, even though there may be so many impediments. When such impediments arise, he should simply think of Krishna and expect his mercy. That is the only solace. If the devotee passes his days in that spirit, it's certain that he is going to be promoted to the abode of the Lord. By such activities, he earns his claim to enter the kingdom of God. The exact word used in this verse is dayabhak. Dayabhak renders to a son's becoming the lawful inheritor of the property of the father. In a similar way, a pure devotee who is prepared to undergo all kinds of tribulations in executing Krishna conscious duties becomes lawfully qualified to enter into the transcendental abode. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. So this verse quoted is actually from, Lord Brahma is praying in 10:14:8. It's a very famous verse. So let's read this verse. This verse goes like this. Tattenukampam susumikshmano bhunjanaivatmakritam vipakam ridvagvapurbhirvidadan namaste jivetayo muktipade sadaya bhag. So here, Daya Bhag, the Prabhupada quotes in the purport also, rightful heir. So here the translation is that, my dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds and offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation. Just give me one moment. Hare Krishna, sorry about the interruption. Yeah. So it's a very beautiful verse where, this we are hearing about a devotee who is patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds and offering respectful obeisance to the Lord within his heart. So this activity of expecting the Lord's mercy, it is so beautiful, right? Because along with doing our endeavor, we need the mercy of the Lord, right? We cannot think that just by the power of my sadhana, I can get Krishna, or my sadhana is so strong that this will take me back to Godhead. No, we need the mercy of the Lord. So expecting the Lord's mercy, that's why Srila Rupa Goswami is stating this item separately so that we don't miss this, right? If we look at the other items, there is some, physical activity involved, whether we are hearing or we are offering obeisances or we are circumambulating the temple. There is something that we have to physically do. But this expecting the Lord's mercy is totally something that we have to do in our heart. That's why Srila Rupa Goswami is talking about this separately, and he is stating this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam also. So here the example is given of a chatak bird. Now the chatak bird waits for water to come down from the sky in the form of rain, and when it receives that water, it is nourished. In the same way, the devotee waits patiently for the mercy of the Lord. Okay, because the mood of a devotee is that it is because of my past bad deeds that I am getting these bad reactions. But Krishna is so merciful that he has reduced that suffering. He has minimized that suffering and he has given me just a sample. And moreover, Krishna is giving me his remembrance by which I can shield myself from those sufferings and I can go deeper into getting his remembrance. So, one who offers obeisances like this, for them, liberation has become the like inheritance, something that one is rightfully due. But we have to understand that to get to that level, when we can say that we can really inherit liberation, we can get bhakti for Krishna, we are really eligible for that. What does it take? It takes this total surrender in the heart. Because we all know that when tribulations come in life, we really feel like giving up bhakti. But then we need to have this devotional disposition. Then we have to pray to Krishna that, my Lord, please have mercy on me. I'm so fallen. Please be merciful on me. Because this begging for mercy of the Lord is very important. That danyata, feeling ourselves not capable of getting Krishna's mercy. It's not like I deserve it. We should really feel that no, I'm undeserving, but the only thing that I can rely on, or the only hope for me is the mercy of Krishna and the mercy of his devotees. So when we sincerely, urgently call out more and more to Krishna, that's when Krishna bestows his mercy. It is that sincerity of the heart that really makes all the difference. And when we're talking about mercy of the Lord, we have to understand that this very opportunity to practice devotional service and be in the association of devotees, that is a big mercy in itself. We should never undermine the importance of this opportunity that we have all received. So a devotee desires, but does not demand the mercy of the Lord, because demanding is not in the mood of devotion. When we see it in the lives of all the great devotees, they are so surrendered to Krishna, they are rendering such wonderful services, but they never demand anything from the Lord. They just pray, right? So there is a desire, there is a prayer, but it's not in the mood of demanding. So we express that longing through our sincere calling out. And when we do our services, we do it responsibly, committedly. And with that, we show Krishna that we are serious, and then Krishna bestows his mercy. So where we may think that, okay, expecting the Lord's mercy, this is something which is, not in a gross way. It is something very subtle. It's a feeling. So how do I actually, bring out this feeling in myself? That is by sincerely doing the other services that we physically need to do. If we are really putting our heart into everything that we do, then through that we are showing Krishna that there is a longing I am sincere about attaining you, my Lord. Right? So, like as I mentioned earlier, that other activities, there is some physical activity involved, but this is a very intangible kind of a service, because it just is the longing of the heart, but it is very, very essential, and it can often be missing. We may be doing all the sevas as a ritual, and that's why Srila Rupa Goswami is highlighting this as a separate item so that we don't miss it. So we have to keep this in mind. Sometimes when we are so busy in rendering services, it may become mechanical, but that's when we have to keep reminding ourselves that we don't have to make our bhakti mechanical. Bhakti is a matter of the heart. I have to put my heart into it. And everything that I am doing, any kind of seva that I am doing, it should increase my longing for Krishna. That should be our test. That everything that I'm doing, is it really increasing my longing for Krishna or not? Sorry, there's some work being happening in the building, so that's why there's some disturbance. So yeah, coming back to the point that this developing longing, expecting the Lord's mercy, this is very important. It's intangible, so we may often miss it, but it is something that we really need to give a lot of importance to. Okay, now let's continue reading. Remembrance and meditation. Would someone like to read?
May I, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, please.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare
Dandavat pranam. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Remembrance. Some way or other, if someone establishes in his mind his continuous relationship with Krishna, this relationship is called remembrance. About this remembrance, there is a nice statement of the in the Vishnu Purana, where it is said, simply by remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all living entities become eligible for all kinds of auspiciousness. Therefore, let me always remember the Lord who is unborn and eternal. In this Padma Purana, the same remembrance is explained as follows. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord Krishna. Because if someone remembers him either at the time of death or during his spine of life, he becomes freed from all sinful reactions. Haribol Mataji. Should I
Yeah,
carry
Mataji,
on
you can,
or?
yes, Mataji, you can
Okay.
read two
Thank you,
paragraphs of
Mataji.
meditation. Hare
Yes,
Krishna.
Mataji. Okay, thank you. Meditation. Meditate means to engage the mind in thinking of the form of the Lord, the qualities of the Lord, the activities of the Lord, and the service of the Lord. Meditation does not mean anything impersonal or void. According to Vedic literature, meditation is always on the form of Vishnu. In the Narasimha Purana, there is a statement about meditation on the form of the Lord. It is said that meditation focusing on the Lord Lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead has been accepted as transcendental and beyond mm, the experience of material pain and pleasure. By such meditation, even if one who is grossly miscreant can be delivered from the sinful reductions of his life. In the Vishnu Dharma, there is a statement about meditation on the transcendental qualities of the Lord. It is said persons who are constantly engaged in the Krishna consciousness and who remembers the transcendental qualities of the Lord become free from all reactions to sinful activities. And after being so cleansed, they become fit to enter into the kingdom of God. In other words, no one can enter into the kingdom of God without being freed from all sinful reactions. One can avoid sinful reactions by simply by remembering the Lord's form, qualities, pastime, etc. In the Padma Purana,
Hare
there
Krishna.
is statement about
Yeah, Mataji,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so
Yeah,
much,
sure,
Mataji.
Mataji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Yeah, Lalita Vinodini Mataji, you can continue.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
In the Padma Purana, there is a statement about remembering the activities of the Lord. A person who is always engaged in meditation on the sweet pastimes and wonderful activities of the Lord surely becomes freed from all material contamination. In some of the Puranas, the evidence is given that if someone is simply meditating on devotional activities, he has achieved the desired result and has seen face to face the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this connection, there is a story in the Brahma Vaivarta Purana. That is that in the city of Pratishthanapura in South India, there was once a Brahmana who was not very well to do, but who was nevertheless satisfied in himself, thinking that it was because of his past misdeeds and by the desire of Krishna that he did not get sufficient money and opulence. So he was not at all sorry for his poor material position, and he used to live very peacefully. He was very open-hearted, and sometimes he went to hear some lectures delivered by great realized souls. At one such meeting, while he was very faithfully hearing about Vaishnava activities, he was informed that these activities can be performed even by meditation. In other words, if a person is unable to actually perform Vaishnava activities physically, he can meditate upon the Vaishnava activities and thereby acquire all of the same results. Because the Brahmana was not very well to do financially, he decided that he would simply meditate on grand royal devotional activities, and he began this business thus. Should I continue?
Yes,
Shall I
Mataji,
continue?
you can read
Yeah.
one more paragraph.
Yeah. Sometimes he would take his bath in the river Godavari. After taking his bath, he would sit in a secluded place on the bank of the river. And by practicing the yoga exercise of pranayama, the usual breathing exercises, he would concentrate his mind. These breathing exercises are meant to mechanically fix the mind upon a particular subject. That is a result of a breathing exercises and also of the different sitting postures of yoga. Formerly, even quite ordinary persons used to know how to fix the mind upon the remembrance of the Lord. And so the Brahmana was doing this. When he had fixed the form of the Lord in his mind, he began to imagine in his meditations that he was dressing the Lord very nicely in costly clothing with ornaments, helmets, and other paraphernalia. Then he offered his respectful obeisances by bowing down before the Lord. After finishing the dressing, he began to imagine that he was cleaning the temple very nicely. After cleansing the temple, he imagined that he had many water jugs made of gold and silver, and he took all those jugs to the river and filled them with the holy water. Not only did he collect water from the Godavari, but he collected from the Ganges, Yamuna, Narmada, and Kaveri. Generally, a Vaishnava, while worshipping the Lord, collects water from all these rivers by mantra chanting. This Brahmana, instead of chanting some mantra, imagined that he was physically securing water from all these rivers in golden and silver water pots. Then he collected all kinds of paraphernalia for worship, that is, flowers, fruits, incense, and sandalwood pulp. He collected everything to place before the deity. All these waters, flowers, and scented articles were then very nicely offered to the deities to their satisfaction. Then he offered arati, and with the regulative principles, he finished all these activities in the correct worshipping method. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare
Yeah,
Krishna.
Swati Mataji, you can just complete reading.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Pranam.
He would daily execute similar performance as his routine work, and he's continued to do so for many, many years. Then one day, the Brahmana imagined in his meditations that he had prepared some sweet rice with milk and sugar and offered the preparation to the deity. However, he was not very satisfied with the offering because the sweet rice had been prepared recently and it was still very hot. This preparation, sweet rice should not be taken hot. The cooler the sweet rice, the better its taste. So, the sweet rice had been prepared by the Brahmana very recently. He wanted to touch it so that he would know whether it was fit for eating by the Lord. As soon as he touched the sweet rice pot with his finger, he immediately was burnt by the heat of the pot. In this way, his meditation broke. Now, when he looked at his finger, he saw that it was burnt, and he was wondering in astonishment how this could have been happened. Because he was simply meditating on touching the hot sweet rice, he never thought that his finger would actually become burnt. When he was thinking like this, in Vaikunta, Lord Narayana, seated with goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, began to smile humorously. On seeing the smiling of the Lord, all the goddess of fortune attending the Lord became very curious and asked Lord Narayana why he was smiling. The Lord, however, did not reply to their inquisitiveness, but instead immediately sent for the Brahmana. An aeroplane sent from Vaikunta immediately brought the Brahmana into Lord Narayana's presence. When the Brahmana was thus present before the Lord and the goddess of fortune, the Lord explained the whole story. The Brahmana was then fortunate enough to get an eternal place in Vaikunta in the association of the Lord and his Lakshmis. This shows how the Lord is all pervading in spite of his being locally situated in his abode. Although the Lord was present in Vaikunta, he was also present in the heart of the Brahmana when he was meditating on the worshipping process. Thus, we can understand that things offered by the devotees, even meditation, are accepted by the Lord and they help one achieve the desired result. Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you, Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Yeah, so we read about meditation and remembrance. So Prabhupada is telling that some way or the other, if someone establishes in his mind his continuous relationship with Krishna, this relationship is called remembrance. So, and then this quote from Vishnu Puran, that simply by remembering the Supreme Lord, all living entities become eligible for all kinds of auspiciousness. Therefore, let me always remember the Lord who is unborn and eternal. So, remembrance is something that is given a lot of importance. All the activities that we are doing, whether it is chanting or deity worship, offering bhoga, it is to develop a relationship with Krishna. Right? Krishna is a person. He's not just some abstract light form, right? No, he's a person. And that's why when we hear a lot about Krishna, when we hear his names, when we chant very nicely, when we hear about his gunas, his leelas, that helps us build a relationship with Krishna and increase our remembrance of Krishna. So that's why there are so many wonderful pastimes the Lord enacts, right? One very big reason is so that we are able to narrate these pastimes again and again, and in this way, our remembrance of the Lord increases. So, remembrance is a very, very important item in our sadhana, in our bhakti. And then it's meditation. Meditation, this is not the kind of meditation on anything impersonal or void. No, it is meditation or thinking of the form of the Lord, the qualities of the Lord, the activities of the Lord, and the service of the Lord. So according to Vedic literature, meditation is always on the form of Vishnu. It is not on a light or on any void. That is not as per the Vedic tradition. Then Prabhupada quotes from Narsimha Puran, where there is a statement about meditation on the form of the Lord, that focusing on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord has been accepted as transcendental and beyond the experience of material pain and pleasure. And by such meditation, even one who is grossly miscreant can be delivered from the sinful reactions of life. So the suffering that is being caused in our life is due to the sinful reactions, right? So when we are meditating on the Lord, then our sinful reactions are being removed. So our life is going to become more and more happier, more and more blissful. Then in Vishnu Dharma, there is a statement about meditation on the transcendental qualities of the Lord, that a person who is engaged in Krishna consciousness and who remembers the transcendental qualities of the Lord becomes free from all reactions to sinful activities. And after being so cleansed, they become fit to enter the kingdom of God. Right? So again, it is being highlighted that how important it is to think of Krishna, meditate on Krishna. And in Padma Puran, it's mentioned about engaging on the sweet and engaging the meditation on the sweet pastimes of Krishna, wonderful activities of the Lord. And one who does so surely becomes freed from all material contamination. Thinking of the Lord, reciting his names, meditating on his beautiful form is so purifying that our material contamination is removed. And then this very beautiful story from the Puranas about a Brahmana who was not so opulent, as far as his resources were concerned. But still, he was not very well to do, but he was still very satisfied, thinking that it was because of his past misdeeds and by the desire of Krishna that he did not get sufficient money and opulence. So he was not at all sorry. But in one meeting, he heard that he was informed that these activities, the Vaishnava activities, can be performed even in our mind, even by meditation. So, if a person is unable to actually perform a Vaishnava activity physically, then they can meditate upon the Vaishnava activities and thereby acquire all the same results. Now, here it's about we have to be very clear in the understanding that only when one is unable to physically do it, only then should we do this kind of meditation. It's not like I have all the opportunity to render the seva actually, but I'm just lazy, so I'm going to just sit and meditate and do the puja in my meditation. That's not what is mentioned here. Here very clearly it is mentioned that the Brahmana was not very well to do financially, but he wanted to do very grand seva of the lordships. So he began to meditate and offer the seva through his meditation. So, after cleansing, after bathing and everything, he so beautifully it is mentioned that how he was decorating the temple, how he was cleaning the temple. There were jugs made of gold and silver, and there were water from the holy river, from the Ganga, Yamuna, Narmada, Kaveri. And then instead of chanting some mantra, he imagined that he was physically securing water from all these rivers in golden and silver pots. He collects all this paraphernalia, flowers, fruits, incense, sandalwood, pulp, etc., and he places everything before the deity. All the water, flowers, scented articles were then very nicely offered to the deities to their satisfaction, and then he offers arati. So this is what he's doing in his meditation. He's not able to do all this opulent seva actually, but he's doing it through his meditation. Then he, at another instance, he wants to offer kheer to the Lord, right? And because in his meditation it's been made very recently, so he's thinking that it's still very hot. So he wants to touch the sweet and, with his finger to see that is it cool, has it cooled down or not. And he immediately was burned by the heat of the pot, and that's when his meditation breaks. So he was not actually physically doing that activity. That there was no real pot of kheer actually there that he wanted to check the temperature of. No, but his meditation was so strong that the Lord reciprocates, right? And just by burning his finger, this shows how real that seva, the seva rendered through meditation is. It is very, 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 very powerful. So in the last para, then Prabhupada says that, he was thinking, the Brahmana was in astonishment, right? That he was simply meditating on touching the hot sweet rice. He never thought that his finger would actually become burnt. When he was thinking about this, in Vaikuntha, Lord Narayan, seated with the goddess of fortune, he began to smile humorously. And on seeing this smile of the Lord, the goddess of fortune attending the Lord, the Lakshmi Devi, she becomes very curious when she sees Narayan smiling. And she asks Narayan, why are you smiling? The Lord did not reply and he immediately sent for the Brahmana. So he was in a special airplane was sent and he was brought to Vaikuntha. And when the Brahman was present before the Lord and Mother Lakshmi, the Lord explained the whole story. And the Brahmana is so fortunate he gets a place in Vaikuntha. So the Lord is present as Paramatma in the heart of all living beings. So what actually is our desire, what we actually are feeling, thinking, with what sincerity we are rendering devotional service, Krishna knows it. We can never bluff with Krishna. If there is no sentiment in our heart, Krishna knows it better than I and myself know it. We may be trying to fool ourselves and others by behaving in a particular manner. But what is actually the reality of our heart, that only Krishna knows, and He knows it very well. So, in this section of remembrance and meditation, we talked about the different kinds of meditation, that is Nam Dhyan, Roop Dhyan, Krida or Lila Dhyan, and there is also Seva Dhyan. So Nam Dhyan, as the word implies that this is a meditation on the name of the Lord. When devotees lose awareness of everything else and chant, that's when that is the kind of state that is being mentioned here. And this is the kind of chanting that even Lord Chaitanya did, right? He was totally enthralled in the chanting of the names of Lord Krishna. Then, after Nam Dhyan, there is Roop Dhyan, when we meditate on the form of the Lord. And the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam describes how the devotee meditates on each limb of the Lord. So, because beholding Krishna's beauty, if we get mesmerized by that beauty, then the lust of this material world will not impact us. So, we need a pure heart to get the real darshan of Krishna. And the path of bhakti yoga is to crowd material desires out of our heart and fill the heart with devotional spiritual desires. Then material desires have no place. So, we have to say more yes to Krishna and become eager for devotional service. So that is what we need to do through Rupa Dhyan. We have to change this kind of consciousness that we have, that we have to completely remove all the material desires that are there in our heart. Next up is Krida or Leela Dhyan. This is meditating on the pastimes of the Lord. One becomes so absorbed in hearing and chanting of the Lord, hearing the pastimes of the Lord, especially in the Leela, especially in the different leelas of the Lord. So there are so many wonderful pastimes that the Lord performs. When we go and completely engross ourselves in thinking of these pastimes, that is Krida or Leela Dhyan. So Lord, like Lord Chaitanya, from his personal example, he showed that he would like to hear the pastimes of Dhruv Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj again and again. And he would get totally engrossed in these pastimes. So that is actually Leela Dhyan or Krida Dhyan. Then there is Seva Dhyan. This is very, very important because for how long can we actually do Nam Dhyan or Krida or Leela Dhyan or the Roop Dhyan? There is a certain limitation to this. But Seva Dhyan is something that we can do more and more. And what is Seva Dhyan? Seva Dhyan is nothing but absorption in the service of Krishna. So, whatever service we are doing, whether it is deity service, whether it is cooking for the deities, it is preaching, or it is book distribution, deity service, when we become more absorbed in the Seva, that level of absorption, that is what we need to target. So, that Seva can become a source of absorption for us. Whether if we are doing book distribution, we can really think, oh, how can I improve the distribution of books? If we are doing deity dressing, how can I dress the deities more and more beautifully? In the same way, every kind of service that we are rendering, we have to uh, try to do best, be totally engrossed in that seva, and that is seva dhyan. So the seva can become the source of absorption for us. And how absorbed was Srila Prabhupada in his service? He was constantly thinking about how to expand the Krishna consciousness movement. In this way, we can constantly connect with Krishna if we are doing seva dhyan. Srila Prabhupada also translates, we see that he translates bhakti always as devotional service. So the aspect of seva is very, very important. So it is the seva dhyan is when we are totally engrossing ourselves in the service of Krishna. And Prabhupada has given many references in this section, and he ends with this very beautiful story of the Brahmana, where we can actually practically see that how important is absorption in Krishna. I mean, to such an extent that his hand also gets burnt. It's unimaginable, right? Someone may say that, oh, it's just a fantasy, it cannot actually happen. But yes, it can happen, because the Lord, as seated as Paramatma in everyone's heart, he knows our true intention. So he knows that the Brahmana really is trying to offer me this sweet rice, and he's just checking the temperature. So this is the Lord's reciprocation of by which he is teaching us that if we are sincerely trying to approach Krishna, Krishna is definitely there, and he really helps us. He really tries to pull us out. So sometimes when we are in the midst of some calamity or some problem, it's difficult to think like this. But this is something that is very important for us to remember, that whatever the Lord is doing, that is as per his wonderful plan. We have to be totally devoted, totally engrossed in our seva, in our dhyan. And so in this way, when we are constantly thinking of the seva, how to do the seva better, this is the meditation. Meditation is not just where we have to sit still and think of some object. No. Meditation means totally engrossing ourselves in something to such an extent that the other things around us don't matter so much. So that is what we learn from this book. We'll stop here today. If there are any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So all these dhyans, what you said, for the first three we can do while meditating, no? The meditation.
Sorry, Mataji. Sorry, I didn't get you.
These three things which you told, Nam Dhyan, Rupa Dhyan and all that, and Krida Dhyan, Leela and Krida Dhyan, these three we can do meditation. While chanting, we can meditate on these, no?
Yes, Mataji. So Nam Dhyan is meditating on the name of the Lord.
Yeah.
Rup Dhyan is meditating on the form of the Lord. So even when we
Yeah,
are having deity darshan, that is Roop Dhyan, no?
yes.
So like Lord Chaitanya, when he would go to get darshan of Lord Jagannath, he would be totally engrossed in that darshan. So that is Roop Dhyan. And then meditating on pastimes, that is Krida or Leela Dhyan.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
We have
the
to
fourth one
basically
is seva.
absorb
That we have to do it.
that we have to do. But while we are doing seva, our mind should be totally engrossed in the seva. How I can do this seva better and better.
Yeah. Yes, Mataji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Thank you all so much. See you again tomorrow. Vancha kalpatrubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की भक्ति रसा रूप गोस्वामी की जय श्री प्रभुपाद की जय
Nectar of instruction की जय.
कृष्ण की जय.
Hare Krishna, devotees.
See you tomorrow. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Hare Krishna devotees. Thank you Mataji.